Hello students and welcome to yet another session on Email English. In today's session, we are going to cover two subunits. Under 1.2, we have The Harp of India, a poem by Henry Derozio, and under 1.3, we will learn effective ways of listening. The Harp of India is a well-known patriotic poem by Derozio, who is known as the first Indian poet in English. It is in the form of a Shakespearean sonnet which has three quatrains and a couplet at the end of the poem. It deals with the pathetic plight of people of India who are under the clutches of the cruel administration of British rule. It is a poem written at a time when the poets never directly expressed their patriotic views. Perhaps this is why the poem, right from the beginning up to the end, tactly airs the views of patriotism through the medium of some beautiful metaphors and connotations. Now, let me take you through the contents of today's session. The first one is introduction, next about Henry Derozio, short summary of the poem, analysis of the poem, literary devices, and last but not the least, ways to improve listening skills. The poem Harp of India is written by Henry Derozio, who led the Young Bengal movement and is also known as the first modern poet of India. His father was Indo-Portuguese and his mother was British. Despite having little Indian blood, Derozio loved India very much. The poem Harp of India celebrates the glorious past of India and mourns over its loss because of British rule and ends with a hope that she will regain its glory. The poet uses harp as a symbol for the Indian poets who were earlier famous, but under the British rule, they're suffering. The poem is a sonnet, however, it is different from the traditional sonnets and has a rhyme scheme A B A B B A B C D C D C B B. There are mainly two sections in the poem. In the first section, the poet laments the loss of the glorious past of India. In the second part, the poet hopes that glory will be back. Now, let us know more about the poet. Henry Louis Vivian Derozio was a teacher at Hindu College in Calcutta in the 1820s. He promoted radical ideas and encouraged his pupils to question all authority. He was a poet, philosopher, and a teacher. His students attacked tradition and custom, demanded education for women, and campaigned for the freedom of thought and expression. Henry Vivian Derozio was born at Entally, Padmapukar in Kolkata on 10th April 1809. He attended David Drummon's Academy School. He acquired the following understanding of life in Drummon's Academy. India is his motherland. Everyone in this country is his friend. Community living is nobler than isolated life. Rationalism is much greater treasure than the old custom. Drummond taught that compared to literature and philosophy of the old and Middle Ages, modern ones are richer. Drummond taught these ideas to his students. Derozio acquired these values by the age of 14. In 1826, Derozio was appointed teacher in English literature and history at the New Hindu College at the age of 17. His brilliant lectures presented closely reasoned arguments based on his wide reading. He encouraged students to read Thomas Paine's Rights of Man and other free thinking texts. Derozio promoted radical ideas through his teaching and by organizing an association for debate and discussions on literature, philosophy, history, and science. He inspired his followers and students to question all authority. Derozio and his famous followers, known as the Derosians and Young Bengal, were very much patriotic in nature. They cherished the ideas of the French Revolution and the liberal thinking of Britain. Derozio died of cholera in 1833. The Young Bengal movement continued even after Derozio's sudden death. Now let us look into the short summary of the poem titled The Harp of India. The poem mourns India's loss of freedom to the British and hopes it would regain its past glory. The harp is simply a musical stringed instrument that Derozio uses to represent India's loss of art and literature. The harp is left unplayed, possibly because its strings are broken. Even when there is a breeze that touches the instrument, it has no motion. The ultimate use of an instrument is lost. There is no sound from it. The instrument has been used by several poets in the past, but now it lies there like a statue, abandoned in a desert. Poets have become famous for using the harp in the past. The fame still exists through their artwork, that is poem, like fresh flowers that bloom in the poet's graves. Derozio ends the poem by exclaiming that one with the skill should awaken the music and choose him to do the job. The harp here represents all literature, especially poetry. The sonnet is an address to the harp. Derozio grieves at the lost glory that was India and the desire to reclaim it. Patriotism is blended with Byronic melancholy. The harp is essentially an image from classical Greece, but the Romantics also use it as an icon of bardic song. Strains of romantic poems are evident. The Moors, the Harp of Erin, Shelley's Ozymandias, and Coleridge's Aeolian Harp are intangibly present. The interrogative first line is remarkably dramatic. Do observe the innovative rhyme scheme where only 4 rhymes are finely infused. And the idea runs straight through in a lively, sensitive text. Unmistakable authenticity of patriotic utterance is in every line, and the phrase, my country. The poem, The Harp of India, is written as a Petrarchan sonnet, a poem consisting of 14 lines. A Petrarchan sonnet consists of an octave, that is 8 lines, and a sestet, 6 lines. The poem is written in the first person point of view. The rhyme scheme, as I told you, in the poem is AB, ABBA, CD, CD, CBB. The poem is pretty straightforward, simple, and elegant. The harp is the main symbol used in this poem. The harp represents India's poets' culture, tradition, art, and literature. The loss of these elements in India forms the outline of the poem. There are mainly two parts of the poem. The octave describes the abandoned harp, a metaphor for the loss of art and literature, and sestet describes the poet's art and how the fame exists even after the death of the artwork's author. There is a political background to this poem. It was written in the 19th century and very much reflects colonization and how it is reflected in India's literary work. Why hangs thou lonely on the yon withered bough? Unstrung forever must thou there remain. Why do you hang on a broken branch? The word thou refers to the harp. The unstrung means that the harp hasn't been played, possibly because the strings are broken. Should the harp remain like that? The first two lines evoke a sense of sadness. The harp refers to the art that is not being used or created. The poet questions if the culture of art should remain like this. Thy music once was sweet, who hears it now? Why doth the breeze sigh over thee in vain? The music or the sounds produced by the harp were once very melodious, but now, since nobody plays it, nobody hears the sounds anymore. Even the winds can stir music within the harp and is useless. Silence hath bound thee with a fatal chain. Neglected, mute, and desolate art thou. The harp is silenced, as it does not produce any music or sound. That makes the harp close to being dead, as if it defeats the purpose of an instrument. It is abandoned and dumb and cannot make any music, like ruined monument on the desert plain. Oh, many a hand more worthy for than mine. Thus the harp is like a ruined statue on a desert, useless. There are many poets better than the narrator. The word hand refers to the other talented poets. Once thy harmonious chords to sweetness gave, and many a wreath for them did fame entwine, when the harp did make melodious music and entertained. It gave fame to the poets. The word wreath suggests that the poets are dead and also refers to the flowers on the poet's grave, or flowers still blooming on the minstrel's grave. Those hands are cold. But if thy notes divine the flowers still bloom on the poet's graves, flower can also be compared to fame. Even when the poets remain dead, the artwork they produced is celebrated even after the death of the poets. Harp of my country, let me strike the string. Let the harp be played again to revive art and literature again, and let him, the narrator, be one to begin. Now let us take a view on the literary devices used in the poem. The major literary devices used in the Harp of India are personification, simile, and synecdoche. Throughout the poem, the harp is personified. It is given the importance as if it is a living being. It perhaps enhances the value of art in India. Words like thou and her are used to personify the harp. The simile used in this poem is like ruined monument on the desert plain. This simile compares the broken harp to an abandoned statue in the useless desert. One synecdoche used here is hands, which refer to the poets of the past. Now let us discuss the various ways to improve listening skill. Independent study, classroom learning, and one-on-one practicing are all part and parcel of effective language learning. When you specifically emphasize developing your listening skill, try implementing the below listed tips that and tricks in all three settings so that improving listening skills is more effective as well as quicker than usual. The first one is micro learning. Study in small portions. It is proven that learning 15 to 20 minutes at a stretch is always more effective than studying for hours when you are learning a new language. The trick is to segment the day's learning material into small portions that can be done within 5 minutes or so. If 10 words a day is your vocabulary learning goal, you may portion them up into 3 words at one go and have these 5 minutes of work thrice a day. This is an easy example. Try dividing your listening tasks into manageable pieces and listen to them once and run them over and over in your mind so that you are ready to take the next portion in. Now next one is listening to all. 10 words at a time will increase the chance of confusion and will force your brain to focus on different things at a time. It is easier for your brain to concentrate on 3 words at a time, and that helps memorize them to a context far more easily. Next one is listen to the same thing. Over-listening is an instinctive skill that happens automatically when you read, when you already know the words and how they make sentences. A good practice is to listen to the same videos you like over and again. If you love what you are watching or listening to, it will feel repetitive or boring. Take your favorite TV series and keep watching the same episodes multiple times with and without subtitles so that you understand the context and all the sentences used best. Always listen for the vocabulary you already know and try picking up new ones. Build a habit of looking new words up in your dictionary or on the internet at your convenience. As you get used to the things they are saying on the screen and have almost memorized the dialogues of the same episodes of your TV series, try saying them aloud for fun and practice. The next one is passive listening. Take advantage of white noise. Passive listening works like magic while getting used to a new language. Having some song or audio on while focusing on some other tasks at hand will make the background noise white noise, a noise that masks all other distracting ones and lets you focus. It is the most effective form of passive listening. Your brain is focusing on something but listening to what's being said in the background audio without even realizing it. You may be frustrated thinking that it's just a waste of time and energy as most of us cannot actively do multiple things at a time. But your brain is listening passively, no matter what else you are doing. It works wonders to get your ears and your brain accustomed to a new language without even making a strenuous effort. Next is read out loud. Reading out loud is always a great way to check your pronunciation, intonation, and stress while dealing with a new language. Read aloud so that you can hear yourself. Correct and tweak what sounds off. As it acts as a natural self-assessment tool, it will work better than reading quietly. Interpersonal conversations are a great tool in language learning to develop both listening and speaking skills simultaneously in the target language. Read aloud the words you pick up over and again until you hear yourself getting the pronunciation spot on. It can be fun and engaging when you are not putting a lot of pressure on yourself while practicing. Learning a new language is always an exciting gig, and remember to have fun while learning because that is when it is always the most effective. The next one is get used to different accents. Accents are tricky. With regional accents, the same language can seem so different that is often unrecognizable to new language learners. But you can make a point of listening to a new accent so that you can get your ears used to that variety of the language as well. Suppose you are great at listening to American English. Since you do not require subtitles while watching American series, but Australian English sounds alien to you. Listen as you sleep. Yes, you heard it right. Being introduced to new information before getting some sleep has been proven to work when it comes memorizing better. But there are studies to prove the same is possible if you're listening while you are sound asleep, which is even in the non-REM stage, the first few hours of deep, dreamless sleep. Research was conducted by researchers of two Swiss universities and two groups of native German speakers participated in it. They were given a handful of Dutch to German word pairs to memorize at 10 p.m. They were instructed to read them before one group could sleep while the other stayed awake. But both would continuously listen to an audio playing the word pairs over along with a few additional ones thrown in. At 2 a.m., when both groups were awake and sat for a test, the sleeping group did remarkably better. The researchers noticed similar waves present in the brains of those in deep dreamless sleep, which is normally seen in the brains of people studying hard. Interesting fact, isn't it? Next is join a conversation group. Joining a group to practice your new language skill always helps. It works even better when your group consists of native and non-native speakers of the target language, as well as people having different accents going on. Conversations help improve listenings monumentally because when you speak and listen in return back and forth, you instantaneously realize the variations in pronunciations and what you already doing great and what needs some work. You correct the wrongs in the very Next sentence, you speak, and nothing works better than that. It can be nerve wracking trying to speak a language you are only learning, that too in front of people who speak it since birth. The trick is to keep listening and practicing until you are confident enough to speak it. When you listen and have an option to respond then and there, you are going to feel the urge to do it as soon as you are ready. You do not have to understand every word in every accent, but you have to pay attention and try to decode them. Once listening becomes a habit, you will soon be ready to speak the language as well as. Next, and the last one is prepare your conversations before they happen. Conversations are mostly about practicing to speak. What we often overlook is that it is 50% listening as well. So it is not completely mindless to think of using them to improve listening skills as well. When you wish to focus on same conversations strictly for listening purposes, preparing and practicing your part as a speaker beforehand will give you time and space to listen. Technically, when you are speaking, you have to pay attention to your speech, uh, which gives you less time to concentrate on the speech of the person in front. Especially when you are speaking in a foreign language, your brain is already hyper alert, scrutinizing your every move. Laying all that scrutiny on yourself at home practicing will boost your confidence as a speaker while conversing. The added benefit will be that you can let go while you talk, and that will enable you to concentrate on the listening part of the deal. When you have actively invested yourself in trying to improve your listening skills in any language, the aforementioned tricks are meant to do wonders. Being backed up by necessary research, these are bound to help you improve and polish your listening skills in the target language. With this, we have come to the end of the session. I hope the session was beneficial to all of you. Don't forget to go through the original text. Thank you and see you with one more interesting session on MIL.